Hi everybody, so it's Monday evening. Welcome back to another week of Meals on the Seesaw. And we're starting out tonight on Monday night with bacon wrapped cheesy chicken. So this is just some chicken breasts that I flattened out a bit. I then spread them with some low fat cream cheese with garlic and herbs. You could use any kind of flavoured cream cheese really for this, or you could use plain cream cheese and then just sprinkle over some of your favourite herbs and spices on top of it. And then I just put just a tiny sprinkle over that of some red Leicester grated cheese. And I rolled the chicken breasts up into little parcels, and then I wrapped them in bacon slices. And then in the oven, about 45 minutes at 200 fan, just because I wanted the bacon to crisp up a little bit on the outside as well. So that is mine with mashed potatoes and some sweet corn. And I've opened Caleb's up there so you can see it's just a nice big piece of chicken in the middle. And then it's got the cheesiness all around it. And I'm sure there'll be some ketchup making its way onto that plate before very much longer. And then I just wanted to show you, as I promised last night, this was the Biscoff Millionaire's shortbread that I made yesterday. So we have cut some slices off and you can see the layers there. So it's got the Biscoff biscuits combined with butter, like a bit like a cheesecake base on the bottom. Now that is quite crumbly, but I don't mind that. It just means you need to have a plate or a napkin or something when you eat it. And then the caramel I made with a can of condensed milk, 200 grams of butter, 3 tablespoons of caster sugar and 4 tablespoons of golden syrup. Melted the butter into everything else and the sugar dissolved, and then brought it to a boil and just stirred and stirred and stirred it until it turned into caramel. You sort of know when it's there. It goes the right colour, it goes a kind of goldeny brown colour, and it starts to get a bit thicker. But you do have to watch it, you can't just leave it, you have to stir it. And then on the top I melted 200 grams of milk chocolate, and then I softened 200 grams of the Biscoff spread. So I actually used the Aldi one, which is this one, biscuit spread. Just soften it so it will combine with the melted chocolate. Poured that over the top and then sprinkled some crumbs of Biscoff biscuits that I'd kept from making the base just over the top to finish it off. It is really tasty. Now, Tony's not a fan of sweet stuff particularly, but even he said he enjoyed this. It's surprisingly, it's not as sweet as it sounds like it would be. I mean, you wouldn't want to eat a great big piece of it, or most people wouldn't. But, you know, you only want a small square of it. But it's not as sweet as it sounds like it's going to be. It's actually, I don't think, any sweeter than a normal Millionaire's shortbread. So that was just, I wanted to show you it once it was cut so you could see the different layers in there. But that was this week's little tasty treat. So we're off to enjoy our bacon wrapped cheesy chicken with mashed potatoes and sweet corn. Hi everybody, so it's Tuesday evening. I need something quick and simple today. It's my mum's 85th birthday today, and we haven't seen her since March, and she doesn't have technology, so we haven't been able to do like FaceTime or video calls or anything with her. So we've obviously spoken to her on the phone, but that's it. So as it was quite nice when I came home from work tonight, we just popped over there to meet her in her garden. And she doesn't really have a garden. She lives in a kind of a sheltered housing area, and so she doesn't have her own garden, but there's kind of a little green area out the front of her home. It's kind of communal area, and it's kind of near the pavement and the road, but it is quite nice. It's quite quiet down there where she lives. So we just met there and just had a little chat with her, gave her her birthday cards. So needed something quick and simple to make for tea when we got home. So I've done a creamy cheesy shells and mince dish. So it's a bit like in the States there's a dish called Hamburger Helper, which comes in a packet, and it's the pasta plus the stuff to make the sauce, and you just add water and cheese and stuff to it and your mince, and you have a meal. And it's very much like that, except it's homemade. So I cooked up a package of mince. Once it was browned through, I added a chopped onion and some garlic and some Italian seasoning, probably about a teaspoon and a half of that. Let that all cook together for just a couple of minutes, and then I stirred through 2 tablespoons of flour, just for probably about a minute, just to kind of coat the meat and the onion. Then I added 2 cups of broth. I use beef broth. You could use chicken, vegetable, whatever you've got really, and a carton of passata. Stirred that all together, and then let that cook all together for about 10 minutes. And when that was done, I added in some cooked shells, pasta shells, which I'd been cooking while the pasta sauce was doing. And then one of the small pots of double cream, so it's 150 ml. It's a small pot, which is somewhere between a half and 3/4 of a cup of double cream. Let that all combine together, and then I stirred through a couple of good handfuls of grated cheddar cheese, and just let that melt. While that was doing, I just cooked up. This is one of those from Iceland. It's a cheesy pizza garlic bread. So it looks like a pizza, but it's just cheese and garlic. So we've got some of that on the side. So that is Caleb's and that is mine. So we're off to enjoy this. I think Caleb's going to eat outside tonight, which is the first time it's really been decent enough to do that since we got the furniture for outdoors. It's still not great out there. The sun's gone down now and it's not particularly nice, but he's desperate to eat dinner out there, so I think that's what he's going to do, and I'm going to sit at the dining table along with probably Toney, the same as me. So off to enjoy this, and looking forward to a quick and simple pasta supper. Hi everybody, so it's Wednesday night, and tonight we've got a Mexican chicken cornbread casserole. So the base of this, you can see some dished up there on the plate. The base of this is chicken, which I used a whole chicken and had it cooking in the crock pot all day. I used a medium-sized chicken, and then just it all falls apart. I just shredded up the meat for that. Combined that with a drained can of sweet corn, a carton of, so if I were in the States, I would use something that over there they call rotel, which is chopped tomatoes with chilies chopped into it, jalapenos chopped into it. We don't have that here. You can't really find it. But at Tesco's they do, I think all the grocery doors, I can't speak today, the grocery stores all do something similar. So this is chopped tomatoes with a kick of chili. So it's not quite the same, but it's the closest we get. So I've put a carton of that in with it. And then I added a package of taco seasoning. If you buy it in bulk, you could just put a couple of tablespoons of taco seasoning in. A cup of sour cream, which is about a 250 ml to 300 ml tub of sour cream that you buy at the store pot. Just mix that whole thing in, and then a couple of good handfuls of grated cheese. I use cheddar. You could use whatever cheese you wanted. You combine that all together and put it in the bottom of your casserole dish, and then you use a package of cornbread mix or corn muffin mix. If you've seen my videos in the past, you'll know this is our preferred one. It's the most popular brand in the States, I think. Still, it always has been, and you can get it on Amazon. I did notice when I bought this one, the price has gone up a lot. I paid for one what I would have in the past paid for 3 or 4 boxes, but I'm assuming that's just a reflection of the times that we're in at the moment. So I will look for an opportunity to bulk buy some of that in again in the future, because we like to have that, like Toney really likes it with chili and stuff like that. So you mix up a package of that, just following the package directions, but then also once you've combined it all together, you stir through another couple of handfuls of cheese. Now with cheese, I never weigh and measure it, it's never really that important, but I sort of go by a handful of cheese is about half a cup. And so I use a couple of handfuls, which is equivalent to about a cup of cheese. So a cup in the bottom with the chicken and a cup in the cornbread mix. You spread that all over the top of your chicken, and then you bake it in the oven. It's 180 Celsius, which is about 375 Fahrenheit, and you bake that it took about 25 minutes until the top of the cornbread is nice and crispy. And obviously everything in the bottom it's cooked. The chicken is cooked, so it doesn't need to cook. It just needs to sort of combine and heat through. So we're having that with some salad. Really looking forward to this. It's sort of flavours that we like. Now Caleb has not tried anything like this before. He is going to try a little bit of it with some cucumbers. And if he doesn't like it, then I'll grab him something from the freezer and just heat up for him instead. But it's lots of flavours that he does like, so I'm hoping that he'll enjoy it. So off to enjoy this Mexican chicken cornbread casserole. Hi everybody, so it is Thursday evening.
Thursday.
Yep. Tonight we've got a sort of rib supper. So I wanted some of the shoulder steaks that I could then cook like the boneless ribs that you get in the States. But didn't have any in the store, so I got some pork slices instead. So slightly different texture, but still the same. So they've been in the crock pot all afternoon with a chopped onion, a little bit of seasoning and garlic, and some barbecue sauce. So we're just having those with baked potatoes with cheese and some sweet corn or corn on the cob. So that is mine and that is Caleb's. So off to enjoy a sort of barbecue supper on a very miserable, rainy, well, I don't know, it's like winter again out there. It's quite cool, it's raining, it's been raining all day. Tomorrow is Caleb's best friend's 10th birthday, and they were due to go and just hang out in his back garden so that Caleb could see him on his birthday and they could spend a little bit of time together, socially distanced. But we're hoping the weather doesn't get in the way. What?
Crab.
Oh, okay. Caleb's obsessed with crabs at the moment, in terms of he wants to go and eat crab. Now, I don't think here in the UK you can get crab like the king crab legs and the snow crab that you get in the States at like a crab shack. We've just been looking online and the crab shack restaurants in the UK don't appear to sell that sort of seafood. So I think that'll be a wait for him to go and try that. But I don't even know how we started talking about it, but that's what he's keen to have a try of. So, oh yeah, because he said he wanted to try lobster. So I think we'll start with crab, which is a bit cheaper. But anyway, we're off to enjoy our barbecue supper. Hi everybody, so it's Friday night. Excuse the steam coming off of the dinner bowls here. We've got a creamy chicken casserole tonight with mashed potatoes and broccoli. So the chicken is just some pieces of diced chicken. I haven't really marinated them, but I soaked them in a milk and egg mixture for a few hours this afternoon. Milk, egg and a little bit of pepper. That just sort of softens the chicken up a bit, similar to soaking in buttermilk, which is another common way of doing that. Then I just got some flour, which I seasoned up with some paprika, a little bit of garlic powder and some pepper, and drained off the egg and milk mixture from the chicken pieces, coated them in the flour mixture, and just cooked them in the pan in a little bit of oil for about 5 minutes, so a couple of minutes each side, just to crisp them up a little bit. And then I made up a sauce, which was 2 cans of chicken soup. Now you could use condensed soup or regular ready-to-eat soup. If you use condensed soup, you're going to want to use about a half to a cup of water to loosen it a bit. But if you use obviously ready-to-eat soup, you don't need to do that. And a 1/4 cup of sour cream. Combine that together with, again, a little bit of paprika, a little bit of black pepper. And it makes, again, I've mentioned this a few times, it's a bit like what in the States would be described as chicken gravy. So it's a nice, rich, creamy sauce, usually seasoned with pepper, that you have over fried chicken. And this is very similar to that, but it uses the chicken soup as the base. And then over the top, so I poured that, I put the chicken pieces into the casserole dish, poured that all over the top. And then on top of that, I put some bacon and mushrooms that I just sauteed off in the pan. I'd sprinkled with cheese, covered with foil in a 180 oven for about half an hour, took the foil off and then just let it cook for about another 10 minutes. So really simple, lots of nice creamy flavours there. You could season it however you wanted it actually. You could add a bit of Cajun seasoning into that. You could have a bit of chili powder if you wanted, either in the coating on the chicken. You could use chicken tenders or mini fillets instead of pieces of chicken. You could also use chicken thigh fillets, just whole, if you cooked them a bit longer in the pan before you pop them in the oven. You could, as a real shortcut, use chicken nuggets, either breaded or battered chicken nuggets, and cook those up a little bit first, and then pour the sauce over and the cheese and bacon and mushroom, and just cook them for a little bit in the oven then. So lots of ways you could vary this, but it's a really tasty, go with the bacon, the chicken, the mushrooms, the sauce and the cheese, and we got it with steamed broccoli and some mashed potatoes. So that's mine and that is Caleb's. So off to enjoy this on a Friday night. Okay, so it is Saturday evening and tonight we've got a jambalaya. So this is the first meal we've made from a box of seasoning kits from Simply Cook. I got a free box because a friend of mine signed up for the service and she was able to offer a free box to anybody. So I got 4 of the little meal kits, and this is the first one. I'm doing a separate video with each of the meals in it so that you can see those all together. So that will have all the details of how this came together, but it's a chicken jambalaya with chorizo, peppers, onions, celery, rice, and lots of seasoning. And I've added a few shrimp on the top because normally you would put shrimp in a jambalaya, but Toney doesn't like shrimp, not like this anyway. So I've just got some on the top to have with mine. And I've got a little blob of creme fraiche on the side as it is quite spicy. So that will just help to soften that a little bit. It's the low fat creme fraiche. And then we've got with it some focaccia, which is cheddar and red onion. And that's just to have on the side. Now, I think it is a bit too spicy for Caleb. He is going to try a little bit, but he's got some sweet and sour with rice instead. Just because I want to make sure he has a proper meal. And if he had this and didn't like it, then it would be too late to make something else. So we are going to make the most of the beautiful evening and actually eat outside at our new table tonight. So quite looking forward to that. Hi everybody, so it's Sunday evening and we've got roast chicken dinner tonight. So this is one of the roast in the bag chickens that we got from Aldi. It's not any specific, it's just well seasoned. It was the one in the orange wrapper. I hadn't seen that one before. It was a 1.5 kg chicken, so about the size that I normally buy for us anyway. So Caleb and I have each got a thigh and leg portion. We've got mashed potatoes for a change today. We've got some stuffing, as Caleb loves to have stuffing with roast chicken. And then we've got some steamed, our usual mixture of steamed broccoli, cauliflower, carrots and peas with some tasty gravy over the top. So that's mine and that's Caleb's. We've got the same. And then as you know, usually on a Sunday I make some kind of a dessert or a bake, just because I do on a Sunday. Don't very often make things on other days, but so today I went quite old school. I've made a vanilla sponge, you can see in there, with a seedless raspberry jam spread over the top and sprinkled with some coconut. So very old school. It's the sort of thing I used to have for pudding at school dinners. So I'm planning to have this with some custard for my pudding later tonight. Caleb said he doesn't like coconut, so I have got a little strip down there that's just got the jam on for him. But yeah, looking forward to that. A bit nostalgic, I think, in terms of a pudding. Certainly reminds me. I mean, back in the day, like I was at primary school in the 70s, and back then school dinners were a bit hit and miss. So we had some really weird stuff. I went to a small village community primary school, and so our school dinners used to get brought over in a car from one of the bigger local schools. So there wasn't any choice, it was just whatever it was for the day. And some things were just awful, but pudding was always really good. And I've still got fond memories of just about every pudding that we ever had at school dinners. So that was my little throwback to that today, a vanilla sponge with a coconut and jam topping. So off to enjoy our Sunday roast dinner.